Professor of European Law at Liverpool Hope University. Welcome to the programme, Francesco. What do you think these far-right demonstrators mean when they say we want our country back?
I never thought they'd lost their country, which is the answer to that question. I think what they're actually saying is that anybody of colour, anybody who they regard as an outsider, should basically be sent away, deported, exited. I mean, that's essentially what they're saying. The idea that we haven't had a debate about this is utter nonsense. We've been talking in this country about nothing but immigration, either from Eastern Europe or from other parts of the world for the last 6 or 7 years. Don't forget, Brexit was about immigration, aside from anything else. So what's happening is terrible, Adnan. It really is terrible, because people have forgotten that this is targeted mob violence of the far right. Targeted. Historically, where did that happen? Where else did that kind of thing happen? Nazi Germany, Ku Klux Klan, and so on. So this is beyond a joke. And sadly, the government has really got to act with absolute determination to deal with this as a law and order, almost terrorist issue, because there are a lot of people in this country who are actually afraid to go out. And so it's got to be dealt with. And the political issues, the apologists for this kind of behaviour, and there are many in this country, including in the so-called respectable parties. Just reflect back on some of the interviews we've had over people like Braverman, Farage, and so on. So, if you like, they've created a context that unfortunately was sparked by what happened in Southport. Incidentally, I actually live in Southport. And was a witness to all of this. Absolutely incredible, but it's the context. I'm sorry if I've gone on a little bit, but I think certain things need to be said.
Francesco, clearly these demonstrators are not going away. Their grievances have to be addressed by the government, but maybe the government needs to speak to them about what specifically those grievances are. We know it's proven statistically that migrants contribute economically to the countries they're in. We look at Western Europe and we see the number of people who are living in those Western European nations with undocumented permission, which some people say makes them illegal. But the fact is that that percentage of people living without the proper documentation is less than 1% in most of these Western European countries. So maybe the problem is a societal, economic one, and not one that is specifically anti-immigrant. Isn't it usually the case that if you have problems, if you can't provide for your family, if you can't pay the bills, it's going to be a foreigner's fault, not yours?
Absolutely, absolutely. I actually think that in this country, if you like, the centre left, the centre and the moderate right have kept too quiet about all of this. They really have let the far right, and let me put it this way, the anti-immigrant part of the Conservative Party, the Brexit part of that party, have the agenda, dominate the agenda. Remember, this agenda has scapegoated these people in a way that results in this. This is the culmination of years of a process, and I think that the government. I'm very pleased that the Prime Minister and now Yvette Cooper called this out for what it is. But they do need to address it. They need to address it more positively in terms of the contribution that immigrants make or migrants make to our societies, and they also need to address it in terms of how the government wants to manage the process of migration, not by some crazy scheme like Rwanda, which they've dumped. And by the way, the political undertones here are that the government scrap Rwanda, another pretext that they're not doing anything, which is of course not true. Francesco, so they do have to address.
Oh, excuse me for interrupting you. They do have to address that. Got it. Francesco, as always, really appreciate it. Thank you very much.